Welcome, Alexander. Good to see Berlin represented. Hope you're having a good new year.
And on that note, greetings everyone. I'm happy to see you in 2024. Welcome to the first opening webinar of the second season of Innovative Universities Global Webinar Series that we started last year. First, I will remind you a little bit about the format of the webinar. As you might recall from last season, we explore cases of higher education institutions that might as well be the future of higher education. Our webinar lasts strictly 60 minutes, 15 minutes to half an hour are devoted to the presentation of an innovative university case. Then we proceed to the discussion. We go live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Bremen time. Then you can see the recording on YouTube, and we also encourage you to share your impressions using hashtag Innovative Universities on your favorite social net. We normally respond to that to continue the discussion, to keep the conversation rolling. And my name is Dara Melnik. I'll be your moderator for today. We're starting strong. Can I have the next slide? Our first case is Arizona State University, which has become synonymous with innovation in many places around the world. ASU has been called the most innovative university by the US News and World Report 9 years in a row. And today we'll be exploring how come that has been happening. Our speaker, whom we are very happy to see, is Dale Johnson, who is the Director of Digital Innovation at University Design Institute. You might know the acronym a bit more, UDI, you might have heard about it. It's mentioned all the time. Although Dale mostly or normally typically speaks about digital innovation and has spoken about that in all around the world in more than 30 occasions, doing workshops, sharing best practices, etc. Today, he will kindly talk about innovation in general at ASU and how it happens exactly. So Dale, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dara. Welcome, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I look forward to a good discussion. I'm going to take about 30 minutes probably to present this story, and then we'll have some really good question and answer period. As Dara mentioned, I'm at the University Design Institute. I've been at Arizona State University for 11 years, and I've been working in educational technology and innovation for 30. So I'm excited to share that experience with you. As she also mentioned, we are the most innovative university in the United States for 9 years in a row, according to US News and World Report. We're very proud of the innovations in all realms of our university, from academic to administrative to research work. We put that all together. If you're not familiar with Arizona, we're in the southwestern part of the United States, about a 1-hour flight from Los Angeles and Las Vegas. We are home to the Grand Canyon. If you have a chance to visit, we'll look forward to sharing the seventh wonder of the world with you. And hopefully you'll get a chance to explore also the Sonoran Desert, where the university is located. And we are sharing this desert with Mexico. We're a border state, so we have a long frontier with Mexico, and we share this biome with them. The university is located in the city of Phoenix. We have 4 locations in this metropolitan area. About 5 million people now live in the Phoenix area, and our university is the largest single university in the United States. We have approximately 170,000 students enrolled this year, and for the first time in our history, more than 50% of them will be fully online. Our online programs have grown from 800 students 12 years ago to 85,000 today. And that's a continuing growth in our educational portfolio. So the University Design Institute works on developing capacity within ASU. We do design workshops for our colleagues, and provide leadership training. And we also work with universities all over the world. I worked in Kazakhstan, in Korea, in Vietnam, in Africa, and Latin America. And it's exciting to share this opportunity with you and learn from you as well as we develop these innovative ideas for higher education. We have a design book. If you're interested, you can take a screenshot of this URL and check that out. It goes into a little more detail of what the University Design Institute does and how we do it. And hopefully you'll find that useful as part of your efforts to continue to innovate. And then I also want to highlight two books that were written by our president, Dr. Michael Crow. He has been the president for 22 years now, and his book, Designing the New American University, and the second book, The Fifth Wave, provide an intellectual framework for what I'm going to talk about today. When Dr. Crow came to Arizona State University in 2002, he presented a vision for an innovative, flexible, nimble institution. We already had 45,000 students, so it was already a large university, but he has pushed us to continuously innovate and grow to serve our community. So there were some big questions that were presented as part of the introduction to me. So I want to share some short answers here, and then we'll go into the longer story. What drove ASU to become an innovative university? Primarily failure, frankly. We were not meeting the graduation needs of our students in our community. We needed more engineers. We needed more nursing professionals. We needed more teachers. And even though we were quite large, there was a shortage because our community is growing so rapidly. So we had to innovate in order to meet our obligations. What makes it possible for ASU to invent, implement, and spread innovations? First and foremost, clarity of mission. We have a very, very clear idea of whom we're serving, the students, and how we want to serve them. So I'll talk more about what that means and how that translates into practical activity for the university staff. Did the leadership of the university face resistance? Yes. It took 10 years, frankly, for the culture to change. The last 10 years have been the most innovative. So if you're starting out as a leader at your university, it will take you time to convince your colleagues that this is an important part of the evolution of your institution. But it's worth it, because once you are able to clearly communicate and convince them that innovation is critical, then the opportunities expand tenfold. So as you're thinking about your university, whether you're a staff member, a professor, or a president, you have to give yourself sufficient time in order to make these changes happen. It's a real human story, not a technical story so much. Were there any failures of the innovations? Yes, there were hundreds of failures, and we'll talk about some of them today. They were mostly failures in strategies and tactics. We have clear mission, we have clear objectives. The implementation is where we fail. We think we like to fail fast and fail forward, which is a mantra that we have borrowed from Silicon Valley. And we like to try to continuously learn from our failures. So we'll talk about how our strategies and tactics have evolved over time. This is one story in all of the transformation stories underway at ASU. We wanted to reimagine our mission and objectives. So we started out with the idea of putting something in stone. This was already 12 years after the president had formulated a vision for Arizona State University, but we finally were able to define what that mission statement is. And it really revolves around the student. We are a comprehensive public research university measured not by whom we exclude, but by whom we include and how they succeed. And what that means to us is we do not want to be an elitist institution along the lines of Stanford or Harvard or MIT. We want to be an inclusive institution that embraces our community. That was a key turning point in our culture. when we realized that exclusivity was not the way forward for us, it helped to focus everyone on the tasks at hand, advancing research and discovery of public value, and assuming fundamental responsibility for the economic, social, cultural, and overall health of our communities. Those are the reasons why we do what we do. And that drives us every day. So now we have these gigantic granite slabs with our charter and mission statement embedded in them now for all to see. This phrase has become the talisman for all of our university personnel. We are very, very focused on this inclusivity. Our old model was selective, elitist, inequitable. Our new model is accessible, inclusive, and equitable. These are the primary public aspects of the mission, and we want to be able to respond to our community needs. From that mission, we have 9 objectives. We refer to them as design aspirations. And today I'm going to talk about one that has anchored my work at ASU, enable student success. ASU is committed to the success of each unique student. So that becomes the reason why I get excited about working on innovative projects, because I know that I can connect my work with the larger objective of the university. We also have a philosophy that every objective should be measurable. So what we've done is we've defined a number of very specific targets. In this case, ensure more than 90% of students continue studies beyond their first year. We have a laser focus on achieving that goal and other goals that you can see on here, like right below that, enhance the university graduation rate to greater than 85% and more than 40,000 graduates. These are all things that we can use to align our projects with the objectives and mission of the university. Now, why is 90% important to us? But primarily because when we started this journey, we were at 74%. That means that 25% of our first-year students were not coming back for their second year. That's a huge loss. If you can imagine, we have somewhere around 20,000 new students every year. So we were losing in the neighborhood of 5,000 of them just from the attrition rate. And what we want to do is we want to achieve that 90% retention for first-year students. And over the last 20 years, we have been able to transform our first-year retention rate. I will talk about all of the different efforts that have gone into that to give you an idea of how much work it requires. So you can see that there is a specific benefit. If we looked at the long-term trend of our work, it would have been significantly lower by thousands of students than where we are today. So the innovative efforts that we've launched have been able to change the trajectory of our objective and achieve it. So let's talk about how we redesign for that access, excellence, and impact. I like to think of this as 2 sides of the same coin. So if we have that metaphor, one side is the administrative innovation, and the other side is the academic innovation. Now, these 2 worlds have different policies and different politics, as we all know. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to figure out ways to blend those activities also to increase the rate of innovation. So this whole process has been a parallel and integrated approach, administrative and academic. I'll talk first about administrative innovation because it was the easiest place to start. The politics are less complicated, and the ability to engage with staff members to do administrative work is much higher. So we started with a series of different efforts to enable student success. We implemented a first-year residential requirement. So all of our first-year students now live on campus. That helped to build community. Then we put in an improved new student orientation activity group. That allowed students not only to be members of the community, but to actually contribute to that community. So we have hundreds of clubs and activities, and we have dozens of different interest groups. Students are able to find their place in our community. We increased our financial aid access so they had more resources to support them during this first difficult year. We automated all the administrative processes that we possibly could. We wanted to build a seamless experience from the first request for information through enrollment and eventually through graduation. And we created a new full-time academic advisor role. We used to have our faculty members do academic advising. We transitioned that over to administrative role, and those are professionals who focus on helping students succeed. So that's created a new culture within the administrative ranks of advising students to enable their success. And then the one I want to talk about in more depth today is what we call eAdvisor. And this was a technology that we developed in order to help our advisors and our other professionals and our professors understand what the students need and how to help them succeed. So if we look at this trend, eAdvisor was initially developed in 2006, implemented in 2007. And what you'll find is that was a critical moment, an inflection point in our culture. We built systems to support this transformation, and these innovations begin to add value over time. So what is eAdvisor? It's a series of innovations. Process redesign, for those who are familiar with that included the elimination of unnecessary steps in processes. Data integration, this is a huge innovation for us because we used to have siloed data, and each administrative unit was looking at different versions of the same student activity. And predictive analytics, this is where we introduced in 2006 machine learning and some very rudimentary artificial intelligence to get that information we needed to help the students on their journey. We met a lot of bureaucratic resistance. Everyone was interested in their own process and not in others. We had a lot of data hoarding. There were administrators who said, this is my data and you can't have it. So the president and the provost and the executive vice president had to tell the entire culture and the community, this data is not yours, it is the university's, and you must share it. And that took effort. These are not simple things. As you know, if you're working in higher education, people have a very territorial perspective on some of these ideas like data. And then finally, we had a lack of prior training. Since we had not worked in teams before at a large scale, it took time to build up that culture and the capacity to innovate. So all of these things have contributed to the development of eAdvisor. And what we have now is we have a systems approach. We've built the ecosystem with all of the different data flowing in. We have a degree path mapping tool so students can see what courses they need to take, when they need to take them. We have database queries so they can find out what their options are. We have predictive models to tell them if they do change from being an engineering major to being a business major, that might take them 1 or 2 more semesters because they have to take different courses. We have dashboards for both administrators and students so that they can see the same data. We have training to bring all of our advisors and our faculty members onto the same system with the same vision for the future. Now, you might say, this doesn't seem very innovative here in 2024, but I want you to remember this is 2006. We were the first university to develop this system. Since then, there have been many, many companies that have done commercial products that are doing the same thing. We've even tried some of them, but we go back to our homegrown system because it works for us. So it's an innovation in its time that serves a purpose that exists even today. So the system has a series of dashboards that help academic departments plan their course offering. They can see the flow of students through their degree programs. All of that allows the department chair, the dean, the administrative staff to see how they need to build their teaching and their classroom capacity. We also have the dashboards for the advisors so they can monitor and manage students. And these are flags that are provided so they can see if a student's not using the learning management system or has a grade point average that is below the necessary GPA for advancement. We are trying to get ahead of the problem and be proactive rather than reactive. And finally, we have the profiles of all of our students so that the advisors can see before they meet with the student, what has the student done already and how have they mapped their degree plan? This provides us with insight that was unavailable before. And it's a very valuable resource now for all of the different groups, advisors, students, and faculty members. So the ultimate goal, obviously, is student success, and that helps our students get to their graduation as efficiently and effectively as possible. That's the administrative side. I want to talk now about the academic innovations, which really started out around 2011. And what we had found was, for example, in college algebra, which is one of our largest courses, we were having as much as 40% failure rate consistently over time. That means that the students that fail this course have a much higher probability of dropping out, and we are not able to meet our goal of 90% student success. So the provost said, I want you to find a way to improve the success rate for these introductory courses like college algebra. And I use this phrase to inspire me when I was working on this project, and Buckminster Fuller is one of my intellectual heroes. We never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. We built a new model for teaching college algebra. And that model enables us to support student success in ways that we couldn't before. So we have 4 objectives for that model: improve critical thinking and problem solving, increase student subject mastery, increase student retention, and improve instructor insight. Each of these are measurable. Once again, we go back to our overall mission and objective. 90% of students continue studies beyond their first year. And we translate those objectives into measurable metrics, like do 60 minutes of math problem solving every day. Help 90% of students get a C or better in college algebra, which is a passing grade in our system. Reduce course withdrawal rate to less than 5%. And identify struggling students by week 2. Each of these we can measure for every section of every algebra course that we teach. That's the transformation that we started. And the innovations were based on this movement from mass production to mass personalization. Some of you may still have CDs laying around your house. I still have about 100 of them. I don't even think I have a CD player anymore. I have one in my car that I can use. But now we have millions of songs on our phone that we can personalize. Navigation, instead of buying maps in mass production, we have mass personalization in our phone. We can navigate anywhere in the world. When I'm in Korea, I don't speak the language, I can't read Korean, but I can navigate anywhere in the country using my phone. Mass production in healthcare now, we're doing DNA analysis, we're doing personalized medicine. All of these innovations are now available to us in our daily lives. And in education, we want to transform our traditional model, which is all students getting the same lesson at the same time, into a personalized model where we're delivering the right lesson to the right student at the right time. This was the message that we have as a team of problem solvers in our college algebra course. So now we had to find out how to do that. We took a philosophy that every student has unique learning needs. We added that every student learned best by solving problems. Students must demonstrate mastery of each lesson. Technology success depends on the teacher, and teachers provide individualized instruction to students. And these are philosophical points that we can translate into practical activities. As we talked about failure at the beginning of this webinar, I want to give you some examples of where we failed. We tried in algebra to reduce our classes to 30 students. It didn't change our success rate. Then we said we want to recommend students take this class at another college where they could get more attention from the professors. That didn't work because they didn't come back to Arizona State University. They just failed algebra at the community college. Then we required a remedial math course before they could start college algebra to try to improve their math skills. Unfortunately, that failed. So you're looking at years and years and years of failure as the math faculty members were trying to improve. And it was finally in 2016 that we redesigned the entire course around an adaptive personalized model. And I'll tell you more about that now so you have an idea of how you go from a big idea, like every student has unique learning needs, to a practical solution. So in December 7th of 2015, the leadership of the math department and the provost's office met and made a decision that they were going to do this transformation. So you see, leadership matters. They decided to eliminate the remedial math course because it wasn't working, implement a test when ready mastery model, and use ALEKS adaptive system for all college algebra sections. These were big decisions that had implications for thousands of students that take the algebra course and dozens of faculty members, because we have 50 faculty members teaching college algebra at any given semester. So what this means practically is we can provide new insight to our professors and our students. Our old model was a black box. The old lecture model where every professor was teaching their individual section. They could not answer basic questions such as who needs help, what do they need help with, and what's the best way to help. When we tore that black box open, we brought technology into this innovative model. We were able to start to see what students were doing. What you're looking at is an information graphic showing the individual personalized paths of 100 students who've taken college algebra using the ALEKS system. On the vertical axis, there are 370 lessons defined in this course by our professors, and this is from August to December, one semester at Arizona State University. The first thing I want you to notice is not all students start in the same place. This has always been true, and it will always be true. The problem is our old model did not allow us to adapt to that reality. So now ALEKS shows us on the first day of class, the students take an initial knowledge check, and we discover that they are at different starting points. Then we can see throughout the entire student journey where they are as they're learning. So you'll notice this student went from zero to hero in one semester. And every vertical line is mastery of one of those lessons, and every horizontal line is time learning. So you'll see sometimes they go very quickly through a lesson, and sometimes it takes them a while to achieve mastery. We also have students that were very well prepared and on the first day of class demonstrated mastery of 50% of the curriculum. This student finished in the first week of October. We had to change our testing model, so this student takes the final exam on the first week of October. We do not make them wait for all of the other students to catch up. The student can complete the course on that date and study other subjects if they want. So we are very, very focused on student success, and the student is successful, they can move on to study something else. Other students are not successful. So what we're doing is when that student completes, it frees up more time for the professor to spend with this student. We are looking for these students in real time to find them and help them succeed. Now, this student was doing well for about 2 months and then flatlined. This is a challenge for every faculty member in every course. How do you identify these students and deliver assistance? So we've built models around that. Today, what you'll see is the mass personalization model has increased our success rate by 17 percentage points. That translates into thousands of additional students who are able to go on to study in STEM majors. This has been a revolution for us in teaching, in learning, and in student success. You can see we had the same instructors, the same curriculum, and the same assessments. So we didn't change any of those, but we changed the pedagogy and the technology. And those were both innovations that had a breakthrough. I like to say innovation starts when you can stop doing what you did before. So here's what we stopped doing. We stopped lecturing. There are no more lectures in this course. They are all videotaped. We videotaped over 300 of these lectures. Our professors gave those lessons, and then the students can watch them whenever, wherever, and as many times as they have to learn. This opened up a huge opportunity for students to stop a video and replay it. We see them do it all the time now. We can observe that behavior through the digital tracking of these videos. All of these videos are now embedded in ALEX, the adaptive instructional system. ALEX is an acronym for Assessment and Learning in Knowledge Spaces. And ALEX mapped our curriculum into the system. We loaded all of the lecture videos. We tested all of those personalized lesson paths, and we designed summative assessments around that model. Now, the professors are doing something different now. They're utilizing data to diagnose student problems. They're providing individualized instruction like we said they should, and they're leading group problem solving and exercises. The classroom is completely different now. Instead of a professor in front writing on the whiteboard and giving lectures, the professor's walking around. We have teaching assistants also that are walking around, and the students are raising their hand and getting individual assistance. This model took time. We had to retrain all of our professors that teach this way so that they can be successful. The professors also started moving from a fixed to a variable lesson plan, from group presentation to individual, and from common to personalized instruction. We are moving from a historically static model to a dynamic model now, which enables the student to personalize that learning path. That's the transformation that's occurring with the technology. If you think about that practically, within ALEX, we can build not only the course where the student is studying, but also any remedial material that they might need. We built in 4 additional courses underneath of algebra so that if a student forgot something, the system will go back using the artificial intelligence and it will provide remedial instruction that enables the student to master the lesson. This happens in real time without instructor intervention. This is technology doing the teaching. So that's a huge innovation for us. We went from delayed assistance where everybody had to wait for class and then hopefully the professor had time to answer questions after the lecture, to rapid remediation, where the students are enabled to get that information even if it's at 2 o'clock in the morning. And we know from our data that that's when they're studying. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, they're doing algebra. So there's no professor in the world who's going to be up at that time to provide that help. Now, the leaders started investing in support for this. We needed a team, included faculty, instructional designers, technologists, vendors from ALEX, graphic designers, video producers. We even had librarians that helped us curate the content, and all the leaders who were involved. All of these team members had to collaborate. I mentioned there were 50 faculty members who teach college algebra, and they all had to be trained also. So all of this effort goes together. Leaders also started working together to support the professors. So the department chairperson was a huge proponent of this model. The dean was very supportive, and the provost was also providing resources. The alignment of these leaders was critical to the success. If any one of them had not supported the effort, it would have failed. And that's important as you're building your innovative efforts. So you have to think both administratively and academically about innovation. And you have to think about how to bridge those using new teams of staff members to support your academic innovation. I'll finish with this quote because I think it sums up the challenges we face as educators and innovators. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. So if you are going to innovate, you must think about the way you will reinvent your systems, your policies, your procedures, your personnel to be successful. And I'll stop there and we'll take questions for the remaining time. Thank you all for your attention.
Dale, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I see that we've already got a question, which is a pity because I had mine. I thought I could sneak it in. Okay. So Dima Kondratiev is asking whether ISU uses solutions available on the market or develops proprietary software for that. And
So
I'll add from, yeah. And I'll add from myself, if you develop software, how did you set it up? Do you have a specialized team? How do you ensure that they are cutting edge, etc.?
yes. So you've seen both examples. eAdvisor is a custom developed system, and ALEX is a commercial system. eAdvisor is really a database system. So what we had to do is we had to hire skilled database administrators because we're pulling from 40 different systems. You couldn't really read that systems diagram that I showed unless you were focused on the detail, but there are a variety of different systems that operate independently we had to integrate. And that took a lot of effort. We used outside technical consultants as well to help us. But once we had it built, then we knew how to maintain it. And that's the other challenge. I've seen many organizations build something, but they can't maintain it over time. So we have a dedicated person in the provost's office who owns the eAdvisor system, and she makes sure that everybody else is doing their job in order to support all of these people. We have hundreds of academic advisors that depend on the system. We have thousands of professors. We have tens of thousands of students. So it's a mission critical system for us.
Between choosing in-house and taking something from the market, what would you advise for an innovative institution that is looking for solutions that match its model?
I advise going to the market first.
Mm-hmm.
Universities are typically not built for technical project development. We are built for teaching and research and social support activities. And when you get into technology development, I've been in 2 startups and I've built systems from scratch. It's a different process, and you need different people with different philosophies. So it's very tough for a bureaucracy, which is about stability and long-term educational benefit, to become nimble. It took us probably 4 or 5 years to figure out how to become nimble enough to develop our own system. And then another 5 years to figure out how to maintain it. So I always tell people, if you want to get to the innovation quickly, go get a private partner, because they have the process and the people to make it happen quickly. If you want to build something that might last a long time and be part of your key core competency, then build it yourself. That's what we did with the advisor. On the academic side, we partner with half a dozen different companies. ALEX is one of them, but we also partnered with a company called Cogbooks, which has since been purchased by Cambridge University Press. We partnered with a company called Acrobatic, which has been integrated into VitalSource. We had another company called Smart Sparrow, which is part of Pearson now. Those companies were all startups. They had the right teams. So on the academic side, we were partnering with them to develop courseware, and they were doing the heavy lifting. We were providing subject matter expertise and advice on development of their systems. But I find that if you want to get there quickly, you have to go out and find a partner to do that. And they had money. Frankly, they had capital. We don't have extra money that we can just spend on developing new technology systems. So they bring capital, they bring expertise, they bring technology, and they bring culture that's very agile.
Good point. Here's another question. Which percentage of ASU budget goes to support innovations? And I'll add a bit of an extension from myself. What percentage of ASU activities are devoted to innovation, approximately?
So I think of that in two ways. We have formal and informal innovation activities. Formal activity, University Design Institute. We are all about innovation. We are trying to help our colleagues be innovative. We are trying to help you out at other universities be innovative. So that's a cost. I'd say we probably spend somewhere around 5% of our total budget on those kinds of formal innovative activities. There are many other groups in Arizona State that are doing that. We have human resources groups, and we have academic teams that focus on innovation. So lots and lots of those that are part of our formal structure. Informally, innovation is part of everybody's job description here. We have in the neighborhood of 25,000 employees, and everybody is expected to think about innovation. Now, some people don't have the influence that others have. We might say the dean of a college has more influence and can be more innovative, but you'd be surprised how each individual instructor can have an innovative idea that can influence the entire design of a course. When we did the algebra course, we had 9 professors on the innovation team. We had 2 staff members, and we had 1 provost leader who came every week and met to make sure that the team was making progress. So those 9 individual professors would normally not have any influence on the design of a course, but together they were able to redesign everything. It took about 9 months to do it. We had a very fast timeline, but they were very focused. And I was the director of the team, and I had a partner who was a technical lead. And with the help of our vendor partner, McGraw-Hill, we were able to put that together very quickly. That took a lot of commitment from those innovators. And the same thing's happening every day at Arizona State University in thousands of different ways. So we look at that as an innovation that was necessary. We formed a team, we created a new model, and that team is done. Now, there's another team that's responsible for maintaining it and operating it, but they don't need me anymore. They don't need the provost's office anymore. They don't need technical support. They have all of that now.
Dale, what about the budget percentage? Is it possible to determine?
So that's an unknown. The informal activities, you might say, like 10% of everyone's day is spent on innovation, but I wouldn't know. Some people are spending 100% of their day, and some people are spending 0. It's very hard to think about it that way. I don't really like the idea of saying we spend 5% on innovation or we spend 10% of our time, because it's not the proper philosophy. Innovation is about solving problems. As I mentioned, innovation starts when you stop doing what you used to do. So you might be, when you stop doing something, you might be saving 50% of your daily activity because you stopped doing that. So it's hard to quantify that sometimes. And I would say, think about these things as big problems, like the failure rate was 40% and the retention rate was 74%. Those are big problems. Once you have a clear identity or idea of that problem, then you can begin to invest. And some projects, they require huge investment, like tens of millions of dollars, and others just require a change in human behavior.
In the first part of your answer, you mentioned the role of individuals and you spoke about instructors and administrators. So I want to dig slightly deeper there. You said in your presentation, quote, leaders started working together with innovators, I assume, to help them as much as possible. And my question is, do you do anything to help leaders with that? Do you prepare them in a different way than other universities do?
So we have 6 leadership programs that run at different levels. We have an academic leadership program where if you're appointed to be a department chair, you participate in a leadership program that helps you be a better department chair. If you're a dean, we have leadership programs for deans. If you're an administrator, we have programs for administrators. They're all built around the same philosophy that in order to innovate, you need to collaborate. There's a real team philosophy. So you might be a great research scientist, but that's a different skill set from being a great department chair or a great dean. And we want to help you bridge that gap. If you say, I'm a Nobel Prize winner, but I can't manage 5 people, then we want to help you be a better manager. We know you're already a great scientist. How do we help you be a great leader? So we have a variety of different topics. Some are technology leadership, some are academic leadership, some are administrative. And we really try to emphasize continuous learning for our staff, as well as part of our educational philosophy. We offer programs to our community that are focused on training and development, capacity building, leadership. And we have our own staff enrolled in those programs as well.
Okay, on to the next one. In your presentation, you stayed firmly math side. And one of our attendees, Elena, is asking whether there are any examples of changes in subjects where student success progress is less obvious. And she's citing philosophy as an example.
Oh, great. I wish I had put that slide in my deck. We worked with 25 different courses. I showed you college algebra because that is the most advanced innovation. But we also worked with philosophy. Now, that innovation looked different because we don't have ALEKS for philosophy. So what we did was we used an innovation called the hybrid model. Some of you may know it as a blended or flipped course. That innovation required the philosophy professors to record their lectures, just like the math professors did. And then in class, they would do philosophical discussions. It's a Socratic method. So if we think back to our roots, Socrates was encouraging us to ask questions, and the philosophy faculty embraced that. So the classroom looks dramatically different. We don't have a lecturer talking about Socrates. We have a leader, a professor, who is asking students questions to challenge them to think about Socrates and Plato and other philosophers. That really created a new classroom environment. And so we had to think about, in order to support those discussions, we had to change the design of the classroom. And now you can see how innovation influences everything you do. You start with an idea. We want to use the Socratic method. You have a specific tactic, which is hybrid course design. And then you have a classroom, which may not be designed for that. So we had to create a new classroom design. We used to have big auditoriums. So Philosophy 100, Introduction to Philosophy, was 300 students sitting in an auditorium looking at a professor. And that model, we took it all apart And today we have smaller groups of students in groups of 6 who are sitting in classrooms of 75 and talking to each other. The students are in small teams, so they're working on philosophical ideas. They're answering questions from the professor, they're talking to each other, they're collaborating, they're doing critical thinking, all of those things that we want to give them as skills in addition to understanding philosophy. So for us, it's been transformative. Now, we also did physics, chemistry, biology, psychology, history, economics, very different subjects, but with the same hybrid model.
So Dale, all of that is good and well, but here's a question from one of the university colleges. Beyond the high success rate, what was the student role in the process? Were they consulted? Were they aware what was being developed, tested, and implemented? What do they think about that?
So I like to say we had to climb 2 learning curves in innovation. We have to climb the faculty learning curve, which I've been talking about the whole time, and we have to climb the student learning curve. Now, what does that mean? Practically speaking, students come to the university after 12 years of being told to sit down and shut up. They've been lectured at, and they've memorized everything. They think they've got the whole world in their mind. And we have to tell them that's not the way we want you to think. We don't want you to memorize the idea. We want you to apply the idea. So we have to retrain our students to think differently about education. It takes time. When we started, the students complained about the whole model. They hated the hybrid model. They weren't sure what to do in the personalized instruction model. So we had to build a series of tools to help them. One of them was a video that I developed with a colleague. It's 1 minute long, and it's a cartoon that we put at the beginning of every one of our hybrid courses. The first thing they see when they log into the learning management system is this little video. And it says to them, this class is different. It's not like your high school class or other university class. In this class, you're going to be doing all of your prep online, and in class, you're going to be talking to your classmates and working in teams. In 60 seconds, we give them that message. Then, when they get to class, they have an open mind. From the very first minute of the very first day of the very first class, we have them doing activities. So we begin to train them like you learn to ride a bike, little bit at a time. And they eventually develop the skills that we want them to have, teamwork. Now, throughout that process, the students are giving us feedback. So they're saying this is working and that's not working, or we like this and we don't like that. We will integrate students into every aspect of the design, from the initial concept through the implementation. And today, we even have faculty members who ask their students to suggest new ideas for lessons for the next class, the next semester, which means that students feel like their voice is heard. For example, in biology, we do a series of 10 exercises around biological concepts like vaccination, genetically modified organisms, what's another one? DNA analysis. And students then would say, I think we should do an exercise on environmental sustainability. So the professor then takes that idea and workshops it with the students to come up with the exercise. Those are really great innovations because you're including students in the development process. Because it takes a good professor to do that. You have to be a leader. You can't just be a passive professor. You have to be active and engaged with your students.
So going back to the starting point of innovations, to the targets you set for yourself, we've got a question about whether you only wanted to ensure that more students get the competences that they were already supposed to get, or were you also after them getting some new competences, some that were not in the initial list, so to say?
So there's a balance here. We have subject matter expertise. That's what most of our traditional education has been focused on. Can you remember this formula so that you can solve this problem? And then we have what I call the professional skills: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity. There's a whole science now around, some people call them soft skills, but I don't like that term because they're harder than memorizing a formula. So what we want to do now is we want to get 2 for 1. The pedagogy is designed to deliver the subject matter expertise, but also deliver the skills that will help them professionally and personally to solve problems. And those are skills that we never had time for traditionally. We only had time for subject matter expertise, and students would get those skills outside of class by participating in student government, which is what I did when I was a student. I was a senator from my college in the student government, or doing a sport, or being in a club, in the philosophy club or the biology club. All of that now we try to integrate into the pedagogy. So that 2 for 1 benefit is like adding value without adding cost. And that's innovation.
So actually it's 4 minutes till the end of our webinar, and usually somewhere around this time we ask the final question, which is, imagine there is an institution that is rather traditional and it wants to reimagine itself and become innovative, just like ASU has done. So what would be your main pieces of advice for this institution?
Clarity of mission, first of all. Do you want to be elite? Then you have to focus on that. Do you want to be accessible? Then you have to focus on that. Second, objectives that are measurable. You must be honest with yourself. If you cannot measure it, do not make it an objective. It's not being intellectually honest to say, we want to be the best university in Europe, but not have a metric to determine whether you are or not. And the next thing is, I like to think of those as fixed. Mission and objectives are fixed, but be flexible on your strategies and tactics. I've described today literally different strategies, dramatically different strategies that we had to try in these different environments. And the thing that we were able to embrace was the idea that the strategies have to be flexible. In our environment, things are changing so fast. No one was talking about generative AI 24 months ago. Now everyone is talking about it. So you can't have a strategic plan, a 5-year plan. It doesn't make sense. What you have dozens of strategies that you're implementing, and they have to be flexible. And then the last piece are the tactics. I've talked about all the different tactics that we've used. Those must be flexible. You know, if you say, we're going to use this software this year, it may be, and it's happened to me, that the company went out of business. So here I had a tactic, a very specific technique and tool, and then it was gone. And so I had to find a new technology that I could use. Happens all the time now. So go for fixed mission, fixed objectives, flexible strategy, flexible tactics.
Dale, that is such a splendidly structured answer. It's really like a schemata that one can draw and put on their wall.
Yes.
So on this, we conclude the conversation, the live conversation about ASU. Alex, could we get the slides about the next webinar? Okay, there we go. Well, first of all, we still have some questions remaining for Dale, and I encourage you to use our hashtag Innovative Universities on LinkedIn. Perhaps tag Dale, tag us, myself and Isaac, and we will get that discussion to continue. Now, in 2 weeks, we will have Dr. Rubana Haq from Asian University for Women, which is a wonderful institution in Bangladesh. It was loosely based on Seven Sisters. It's a women's institution that focuses on women who would otherwise perhaps not get higher education. They have students from refugee camps, they have students from impoverished communities, and that is really a thrilling case to discuss, which has already inspired some other institutions to follow their model around the world. We'll be happy to see you there. Dale, thank you for the pleasure and honor of your company. It's been truly great. And everybody, I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.